Hey everybody, Hostron here with another First Edition Friday video. So for this video and the following one, this is going to be essentially a two-parter. I'm not sure if I'm going to post them on a Friday and Saturday, or if I'm just going to do two consecutive Fridays with this. It's going to kind of depend on what my schedule looks like. But what I would like to do is, for the next two videos, we're going to take the showdown. We're going to take the showdown decks from the most recent set, the two pre-constructed decks, and what we're going to do is we're going to give them each an upgrade. So we're going to take the basic idea of what those decks are doing, and then we're going to try to give it an upgrade. Now, when you give a pre-constructed deck an upgrade, trying to remain true to what it's originally doing is going to be difficult. So we're not going to follow that strictly, in the sense that we're not going to necessarily seed 18 dilemmas, we're not necessarily going to do Squire's rules, we're not necessarily going to do like extracted confessions and stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to take what the deck's kind of most core concept is, which is to basically, for the TNG deck, it's going to be, we're playing TNG Cardassians and we're going to do some capture. Okay? That's the core concept of what it is that this deck is doing. So the only thing that we're going to remain true to is that. We're going to upgrade the Cardassian deck so that you're playing TNG Cardassians predominantly, and that you are doing some capture. Okay? For the Federation deck, that pretty much means that what we're going to have to do is we're going to play TNG Feds, and they are going to try to do a couple of missions, and they're going to try to score bonus points and so forth. And that's kind of the only thing that we're going to obey for that one as well. That one was a little bit harder for me to stick close to as far as what the deck does, because as far as that deck having an identity, it really just seemed to focus on, okay, we're going to just do 3 missions, and we're going to just make sure we get to 100 points through mission specialists. So when it came down to it, that deck was, okay, we're going to play TNG Feds, and we're going to have our mission specialists be important to the deck winning, and that's really all I was able to do with that one as far as keeping it to its original concept. So, but that's going to be our plan for the next 2 videos, and we're going to start with one of those today then. So let's start with doorways. We're going to keep the Q's tent, and we're going to keep the alternate universe door. And we're going to flip the missions, and we're going to show that for the first video, we're going to do an upgrade to the Cardassian deck. So the original mission set for the Cardassian deck was bioweapon ruse, covert incursion, locate terrorist leader, prevent military escalation, recover prisoner, and study xenophobic tendencies. We were not really able to stick to that plan, because you're going to notice immediately that all the missions are less than 35 points. So we are going to know your enemy. We're going to play the Cardassian deck with know your enemy, and their enemy is Bajorans. So we have 6 30-point missions or less that have the Bajoran icon. They also happen to have the Cardassian icon. So that works out great for us. So this is definitely going to be a mission suite that if you want to run Cardassians of any kind and have Bajorans as your enemy affiliation, this one's good. This will also work if you are playing Bajorans and you want to have Cardassians as your enemy. And in a lot of ways, this is going to work if you are playing Feds with non-aligned. You'll have to just find a replacement for Study Plasma Storm. But if you're playing Feds and you have non-aligned, this will also work because you have Feds here, non-aligned here, Fed and non-aligned here, Fed here, Fed here. And so you only have to replace the Study Plasma Storm with something that has a Bajoran or Cardassian icon that you can also attempt with your Feds or non-aligned people, and there's a bunch of options for that. So anyway, so moving on. So this is the mission suite we're going to go with. We have 3 space missions, we have 3 planet missions, and I randomly set these out so that we can do kind of a random mission spread here with this deck. This is also a deck that you want to try to interlace with your opponent, and so let's assume for playtesting purposes that we did that we interlaced with our opponent, and this is how it came out. Okay. We stick with the continuing mission, of course, because we have to. We stick with Take It Prisoner because we have to, and because we want to, because we're going to stick with the capture theme, and it's also a free play engine. We stick with the Attention All Hands as a free play engine and a way to download a universal TNG Cardassian ship. So we've got two play engines here. We have our draw engine here. We have another essentially free play engine with the assigned support personnel Divinity and War efforts combo. So far, if you're keeping track at home, we have essentially 3 plays here. And we have a card draw with Know Your Enemy. Moving into more of the capture theme, we go with the Valuable Prisoner. And since we are doing a capture theme and we need more draws than just Know Your Enemy, we're going to seed Fajo's Gallery. Yay! I've been wanting to play with Fajo's Gallery again for a very long time, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity for me to pull this out again. It sees or plays on table. You may draw 2 cards each time you capture a unique personnel, and 1 card each time one of your Fajo collection icon cards or your Mona Lisa enters play. Spoiler alert, we make both of these relevant. So the Fajo's Gallery is going to draw us cards pretty much every game. If at the very least we're going to draw 2 when we Valuable Prisoner someone's unique personnel that we kill, and once we get to the dilemmas, you're going to see how we're going to try to make that a guarantee. So we've got card play engines here. We've got card draw engines here. We also see it in HQ defensive measures as a hidden agenda, and you're going to find out why once we get into the dilemma suite. We want to, with this deck, seed all of these things before our opponent to see if we out-seed our opponent, meaning that they get through all their seeds, or at the very least they commit to where their outpost or reporting locations are going to be before we do. Because what we want to do is we want to seed a Cardassian outpost at a planet mission near our opponent. Since we interlace with our opponent, we'd have a probably pretty good idea if there's a couple of missions that we know the opponent wants to do. So let's assume, let's kind of make this random. This is what I like to do when I'm doing fish bowling and there's a random element to it, is I just kind of embrace that random element. So I'm going to roll a 6-sided die, and we're going to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to treat this left end as if it's not the open, or is the left end is on the opponent's spot here, and the right end is our mission over here. And so we have 6 slots here. So I'm going to have the dice roll telling me which mission our opponent has seeded their first facility at. 3. So 1, 2, 3. We assume our opponent has seeded their first facility here. So we're going to seed our Cardassian outpost right here at Secure Covert Transportation. And then we have a Nor. Now the Nor, with this deck, we want to seed at a space mission. Now, our opponent started here. We put our Cardassian outpost here because we want to be more in the center of the space line if we can. We could have put it over here at Break Prisoner. But because we have space missions on either side, we're going to be okay. So we're going to put our Nor here, and then we're going to seed our 6 sites. And then after we seed our 6 sites, we're going to go into the trick of the deck. We're going to seed recover stolen material, which is going to allow us to seed a Genesis device underneath our space mission, because we have a science lab here. Regardless of whether or not we can do these requirements, the recover stolen material will also give us the ability to try to solve the mission, which is 3 security and strength greater than 30. And then when solved, if you did not earn an artifact here, made down up to 3 equipment cards here, unique, that's not going to trigger because we're going to acquire our artifact. But again, we can attempt this with our non-Federation crew or away team with those requirements, which we may do. It just depends on how the personnel come out. But science, engineering, and astrophysics are not going to be difficult for this deck. We have 4 astrophysics in the deck, and with the fact that we have a Nor, we're going to have the ability to possibly even dial a skill for that astrophysics. So we're not going to have trouble. And 2 of the astrophysics is on a support personnel. So we'll be able to, at the very least, assign support personnel for it when we need it if we don't have it. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty simple mission that we can solve for 30. And then, of course, the plan is then to take this Genesis device after we acquire it, run over to our planet mission where our outpost is, and then double its point box, or make it worth double points. Okay. So the rule is SAM: set, add, multiply. So if we have smuggling in the away team, it would be 30 plus the 5, then worth double, worth 70. So we can get to 100 points if we have the smuggling in this away team. For this mission over here, it's plus 10 if your escorted captive is here. So if we get a captive and then we get them to break prisoner, if this was the planet mission we were doing, we'd be able to do this one for 80 points, and we'd have 10 points to play with. The mission that's difficult for us is the search for weapons, but that is a caveat. So we go into the deck, and we see what the deck is doing, and we see that we have prison compound. So even if we had to do it on search for weapons, we would then be able to prison compound the remaining 10 points that we need. The prison compounds bonus points are also good for us. Against point drain, against an Edo probe, against a dead end that we encounter at the planet mission. That is part of what you're having to do when you seed in this deck, is you have to kind of guess where you think that your opponent put a dead end. Now, we want to base our location of our facilities partially on where the opponent seeded their outpost, but we also want to educated guess where we think the opponent put a dead end. With our missions all being worth 30 and all of them being relatively easy and stuff like that, it's our opponent's not going to know where to go with it. So we just take that risk. We take that risk that we get dead-ended at a study plasma storm where our Genesis device is, and if that's the case, well, then we just simply have to go to a 3-mission plan, and that's just the breaks. But our plan A is to Genesis device, pull from a space mission, and then stick it on a planet mission and double its points so that we can get to 100 on just 2 missions. In the deck, we have an additional draw engine with the power. We also have a draw engine with promenade shops. We'll probe at the end of every turn. We might pull a power, we might pull a prison compound for an incidental extra draw here and there. We also have another play engine with Davidian doors. We have a bunch of Davidian doors in the deck. To companion with that, we have the foragers. If we randomly draw into our copy of foragers, we can Ophidian Cane to put 3 people into play with a single Davidian door, which is pretty cool. It's not something that you rely upon, but it's cool. Admiral Kennelly is an important part of the deck. He is the first card that you download. Well, first off, he's the only VIP in the entire deck. So we assume with persistent individuality running rampant that it's a good chance we might face it at our space mission right away. So it's good to have a VIP early since he's the only copy of it. He will also work with the guest quarters right away then to start smoothing out draws. Okay. One of the fun things that we can do with this deck, since we're playing a Nor, is Admiral Kennelly is a command star who matches because he's put him in Cardassian mode. We put him at the commander's office, and we can download We Need You Here into hand, and then we would card play We Need You Here. Once we do that, we get access to the second half of the card. We don't have Reshape the Quadrant in place. We don't get to ignore the restrictions on sites to draw no cards. So if we do any downloading with our sites for personnel and stuff like that, we will draw the no cards, but that's more of an end of game kind of a thing. But in the interim, we have access to a security holding cell if we want to torture or just put our captives in a brig for safekeeping. But more importantly, it gives us access to Cargo Bay. Cargo Bay allows us to download smuggling, acquisition, and non-aligned navigation personnel, even though it is a Cardassian Nor. And that gives us the ability to download Beverly and Will for their civilian classification, their medical ×2, the tricorder. The tricorder gets our medical people to be engineers. Engineers are a little bit tough for this deck, oddly enough. And then it also gets us access to Kivas Fajo directly. It gives us access to Vash directly. Vash gets us dig, so if in a pinch we need to pull something back, we can download Vash with the Cargo Bay, and then she would get us dig. Now dig, we would not do the function where we put it on top of our deck and then get a draw, because we will draw no cards that turn, but you can do the exchange directly from hand, from the discard pile, and so forth. So, yeah, that's kind of how this deck more or less operates. We have some incidental things in here. We have a lower decks that we can pull with the commander's office. Suna is 2 copies in the deck, so he can dial a skill with reflection therapy as well. We have the test bar egg in order to make it easier for us to get past certain dilemmas requiring integrity. We do have a copy of Torture, which we can download with Gul Madred, so if we pull a captive and we want to harm the opponent, then yeah, we can do that. And then we have 2 copies of Cardassian Disruptor in the deck, 2 different Cardassian weapons in the deck for a purpose that I'm sure you've already figured out by now. As I said earlier, the Fajo's Gallery, we were going to make it relevant regardless, and we do have several Fajo Gallery cards in the deck. We have Lore, we have Talera, we have Kivas Fajo himself. So when we play these cards, they will cantrip, as the Magic players say. So regardless of whether or not we capture or not, which we're going to get a captive with valuable prisoner, our opponent's going to have someone die. So we're going to and then we just got to hopefully it's a unique personnel, so we get card draws, but we do have some card draws here as well. And that's the draw deck more or less, just filled with TNG Cardassians. We have Anya Celia, Anya can get us Celia, so it kind of counts as a free play. Just incidental things like that. There she is. And then let's go to the dilemmas. So, at Planet, we're running Sleeper Trap combos. Opponent attempts the planet. We download 3 Universal Cardassians and a hand weapon to that location. We download from the deck. We download a Gorin for sure. And then we find 2 friends that are going to be good with him. Oftentimes that will end up being Belcalis because we need the leadership in order to initiate battle. And then the third one is whatever you want to pull out. I like to pull out a Teal, or a Tel, however you say it, because he also has 7 strength. But you can pull out any of the other Universal Cardassians as you see fit. Lapel is pretty good with his 7 strength. You can pull out Darrow, but you prefer not to. Mekar, Mikar, whatever, he's okay with 6 strength, and that way you guarantee a taskbar egg if you want it. Yeah. So that's kind of our trick in the deck. It also makes our Davidian doors even more fun because we can, if we have a Davidian door in hand at the time, we can Davidian door another Cardassian right into the mix there, and they can get some reinforcements from a Davidian door when you battle them on the following turn. But it's Sleeper Trap and then into the M113 creature into the Medical Crisis. This is so that you kill some people, and then of course, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'll explain it. But if you kill somebody, then you get to capture them with taken prisoners. So we hope to win the battle with our strength, and then kill somebody, or kill somebody outright during the battle, and then we want to capture them. We get to do that up to 3 times per game. So the idea being that we download 3 Cardassians, we battle, we hopefully win, we kill a dude, and then we capture them immediately. Hopefully they're unique, and we get 2 card draws. But that's how we're doing it. And that's how we will build up our captives for Prison Compound as well. And then we have Distracted into Sleeper Trap into God. This was kind of interesting to me. I thought it up when I started really thinking about things. Was it Distracted by thoughts of home? It's all personnel here, so it's going to affect you and your opponent when they battle. But when you think about how math works, if I have a strength 11 guy and he goes to a 10, it means that he is then able to, there's one more additional number. If he faces up against the right person, that one reduction on someone who's a lower strength might mean in certain situations that it goes from it wasn't going to be a mortal wound to it does become a mortal wound. So if I have, say, 11 strength and my opponent had, what is it again? Anyway, there's this like very small chance that happens. Most of the time this just means that it's going to be the same thing over and over again, but it doesn't matter because it's all happening equally. But yeah, I did the math one time. I was looking at the number matchups or whatever, and I remember thinking that, but it doesn't matter. The purpose of Distracted is to set up God. In space, we have the Cloud into More of Your Kind, into V'ger, More of Your Kind. It's hard to nullify it because orb personnel are limited. So we then try to set up a V'ger. And then over here we have Persistent Individuality into Stratagem, into Quantum Leap. We try to kill somebody with Persistent Individuality pretty reliably for the valuable prisoner. And then over here we just have things that kill. And then we have the Dead End that we try to put where the opponent is probably not going to be. So that's the deck. And in a moment here, we'll do a quick little fishbowl. Okay, so we're back. We have pulled a random deck into the deck builder for our opponent, did their missions. We've done a mission set out. I've formed random combos up here, and then they're just left to right, 1 through 6. And then of course the hope or the idea is that when we attempt a mission, we'll simply randomly choose one of these combos and for us to face, and we'll just simply go from there in this little fishbowl that we do. What we notice immediately is that it looks like our opponent is playing Cardassian, and since they've got a Construct Depot, we're going to kind of assume it's a Cardassian Dominion Alpha Quadrant Alliance deck. So they did get a region into here, and that actually ended up kind of messing with us a little bit here. We could have put our Nor and our Cardassian outpost down here for the search for weapons, study Plasma Storm, but as I mentioned earlier, we don't really want to do search for weapons if we can avoid it. We also don't necessarily want to be like right here on top of our opponent, because then we are separated out from the rest of our missions. Whereas at least if we're here, we have 2 space and 2 planets that we can gain access to. And since our opponent's going to be playing Cardassian, we're going to be relying on defensive measures for battle, and we don't want to be really battling ourselves outside of when our sleeper traps hit. So we're fine being away from our opponent a little bit, and kind of seeding down here where we only have a 2-span mission in between us. So we drew our 7 cards, and we take our first turn. So we have a universal free play, and we just simply go with a Jill Aura to our outpost. That draws us a card with the continuing mission. We put our first Davidian door into play to open the Davidian door. We have any Cardassian we want for taken prisoner. So we'll just go ahead and do, let's do Mikar for free. And then with our card play, what we want to do is we want to download the Braylek to our Nor over here. We won't draw any cards this turn or for the rest of the turn, but that's fine. And then while we're in here, we do our assigned support personnel download, and we want to get a copy of our science guy. So we download Korak, and he can download directly to the science lab. And then he is going to look at the bottom seed card that's underneath this mission where we have our Genesis device. So we'll randomly pick one of these dilemma combos to face. It's 2 dual dilemmas here, 2 space combos here, 2 planet combos here. So we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and if we get a 5 or 6, we just re-roll. Okay, so we get this combo here. The unfortunate truth is that we see our Genesis device because it is seeded after everything, so we don't really get any benefit from that. But we have established that we have a combo here. But we move Mikar down to the promenade shops. He's not going to be able to draw from the promenade shops this turn, but we still get to pro because we still get to see what it is. It's a Davidian door, so we can at least be happy knowing that we're going to get a Davidian door next turn. Actually, we won't. We won't get a Davidian door. We're just going to be upset about it because during our opponent's turn, so we don't draw any cards for end of turn. Then on our opponent's turn, we will special download with Braylek. We're going to go get Admiral Kennelly, and he's going to show up directly to the promenade, or to the guest quarters, that is. Opponent has their first turn. We go to our second turn, and we're going to start by playing Glenn Telak for free with Taken Prisoner. That draws us a card because his force skills are less. And then we immediately use the guest quarters, so we're going to draw 2 and then put 1 back. So we're going to take Lore, and we're going to send him back. The reason why is that we're going to play Lore for our card play, and then we get to draw a card when we reveal Fajo's Gallery. So that's pretty cool. And then we still have a free play Universal. So we're going to free play Universal Ansema. We do not have a Cardassian pad in the deck, so we don't really care about that. And now we are able to go ahead and walk Admiral Kennelly. We're able to walk Admiral Kennelly down to the commander's office if we want to. But we're not really all that concerned with getting the "we need you here" or anything like that going. We did draw into the Beverly and Will, so I think we're okay with that. If we thought that our opponent was playing with Paler Toffs, we certainly would want to go get that engine going so we can go get Kivas Fajo, but we're not too concerned about that at this time. So we just simply go to the end of our second turn, and with the end of our second turn we will draw one for the card draw and one for Know Your Enemy. Opponent has their second turn. Chances are what the opponent's doing, if they're playing the deck, I think that they're, as they possibly are using their own Nord to look at a dilemma here or a dilemma here, or they're thinking about attempting Cardassian right away, but they're probably not going to. So we assume that maybe on a turn 2, a deck like an Alpha Quadrant Cardassian deck isn't going to necessarily attempt that quickly, though it might if they're doing We All Serve, One Big Happy Family, and so they might do it. And so we can maybe assume that they do it on, say, Crisari Rendezvous. And they're going to just simply hit a Cloud. And they didn't have it because they're just trying to tempt with 4 people. So they get stopped and damaged. That ship is on timeout for a bit, but they would have drawn their cards. So, good for them. Come back to our turn, which is turn 3. We free play Universal. Oh, on the previous turn, we totally forgot to do a download of a support personnel. So we would have downloaded a copy of Darrow because he's important to us. Okay, so on our turn, we have a Darrow. We do not already have in play, so we would not have. Well, we would have downloaded Darrow not knowing that we're going to draw a Darrow, so it's fine. So we'll go Darrow then with Taken Prisoner, and that draws us a card which we will use through the guest quarters. We're definitely going to keep the Foragers, and we're going to send Dolak back. Once we get our next Davidian door, then we're going to be cooking with gas. So that's the free play with Taken Prisoner. And then we do a free play with Attention All Hands. We do not have a Lapel or a Belcalis in play. We may end up downloading a Belcalis with a Sleeper Trap, so we want to play him instead. So we do that. So we play Belcalis for free. Then we will do our Assigned Support Personnel. No, we have a card play yet. Our card play is going to be to download a ship with the Attention All Hands. So we're going to grab a Type 2 Galler. Because that's going to allow us then to, when we're ready, to bring everybody over here to the Protect the Escapees. One thing that we're probably going to do is we're probably just going to undock the Braylek and with our copy of Korak, and we're going to just simply have, okay, so let's, then the card play, now let's actually do the Assigned Support Personnel. Let's go get Tajor, wherever he is. Saw him a moment ago. There he is. So we grab Tajor. He's an engineer with Diplo in archaeology. He's pretty good. So yeah, so then we undock the Braylek with Korak and let's just say Admiral Kennelly, and then we just beam Admiral Kennelly back onto the Nor, and then we simply attempt the mission with Korak so that we can put the Genesis device at the back of the stack, and then we can see what the first one is. So it's a M113 creature, so they're going to kill a human if possible. And it's going to be Admiral Kennelly. So that sucks. But then we continue. And we hit a Temptations of the Flesh, which will stop. It'll stop Korak. And then we won't be able to pass it. So we need to get 2 exobiology here. And quickly. So we look over here, and we really don't have any. We have like no exobiology in play like whatsoever, and we have 2 of it in hand. We don't really want to lose our lore, so what we would do then is we'd take our Type 2 Galler with everybody on board. We'd fly 5 to here, beam lore off, and then just get out of the way. And we just let Korak die, unfortunately. But at least now we know what we need to what we're dealing with here. So, end of turn, then we would just simply draw our 2 cards. And we're doing okay. Opponent goes to their 3rd turn. This ship would be on timeout, so it's unlikely that they'd play another ship and do another attempt. So opponent really probably doesn't do anything. It's possible that they have enough people here at Cardassia that they might attempt it with a One Big Happy Family. It's entirely possible. So let's just assume that they do that. And they hit an immediate disintegration protocol. We kill, it's at a planet, so we kill a security personnel with the most red dot icons. Typically security personnel. It'd be hard, I mean, with it being like, say, a Dominion Cardassian deck, that security personnel with the most red dot icons could be a unique personnel, but it's hard to say. So we're going to flip a coin on it, and if it we're going to roll a die, and it's going to be odds are that they are unique. Okay, person was unique. We would then be able to flip our valuable prisoner and capture them. So that person would simply relocate to our crew on board the Braylek. And we'd be able to flip, and Fodder of Gallery is already flipped. So we would then draw 2 cards. And the opponent would most likely be stopped because it would be early and they were just trying to do the... they were just going to do a Big Happy Family so they could draw cards and stuff. So they now know how to beat this dilemma, but we did kill somebody. We got them as a captive. They've been relocated. This is great because we now have our captive for Break Prisoner to boost it. So yeah, things are looking pretty good right now. Opponent ends their turn. The cloud will go away. Basically, it will no longer be stopping the ship. And we go to our turn. Let's start with a power so we kind of have an understanding of where we need to go with things. Oh, wow. Yeah, the opponent's not going to let us have a set. My goodness, the Lackey Shuffle. What do you do? Lackey Shuffles. Alright. So let's free play Lapel with... we have a Mikar in play already. So let's do lapel with taken prisoner, and that draws us a card. That's pretty good. And then we'd be able to free play with attention all hands. Oh, so I'm sorry, yeah. So lapel would be attention all hands, and then me card would be the taken prisoner. And then we have an actual card play, which is the foragers. And then we would special download Ophidian Cane. And we're going to allow 3 through the Davidian door. And so we're going to Davidian door in Beverly and Will, and Kivas, Fajo, and Celia. We simply have to show this to the opponent on our next turn. You know, so you can quite literally set it on the table so you don't forget. At any time during your next turn or end of game, as sooner you must show a Davidian door from hand and place it out of play, or you lose the game. Again, there's nothing really in the rulebook that prevents you from just simply setting this on the table so that on your next turn, opponent has seen it. As a way to keep yourself from forgetting to do it. For the purposes of me doing a video and keeping things simple, we're just going to do it now as well. So we punt the Davidian door. So that was pretty cool. We actually got the trick off with the foragers. We need to basically cure M113 creature, and then we know what the next dilemma is. It's the Temptations of the Flesh. So we have a pretty good idea that the dilemma that's going to be after Temptations of the Flesh is going to be like a friendly fire, or it's going to be a V'ger, or it's going to be a cloud. Those seem like the most likely scenarios. I don't think we're going to be able to reliably beat any of those, so we just need to figure out who's expendable and who isn't. So our Braylek is a fully staffed ship with 8 range. And so what we can do, we do the math, it'd be 4 to here, and then 2 to here is 6, and then 3 to here is 9, so we can't do that. So what we want to do, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what we want to do is we want to take the Braylek to here with all our people. We have enough command stars and stuff like that we're going to take the Type 2 Galler all the way over to here for 6 range, and take the Braylek to here for 6 for its 5th range used. We can then put everyone on board the Type 2 Galler that we have over here, and then it can then fly to here using its 8th range, and then we can beam who we want onto the Braylek, and the Braylek will come back. We would just have our prisoner be on the outpost. We would leave them behind. And on the Type 2 Galler, we can probably leave behind Kivas Fajo with his command star, and then probably a copy of Darrow and his staff star. And then everybody else is here on the Braylek, and then we have to show 2 exobiology, which we now have with lapel and the foragers, so we can cure that. We need a command star to get past that dilemma, and we have 1 of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, and that's it. And let's assume that our opponent can probably stop 4 or 5. Let's just assume 5. We'll just assume that it's 5. We have 1 objective in play ourselves, so they only need to have 4. Actually, we have 2 in play, so they only need to have 3. Seems very doable. Excuse me. So let's assume that we're going to have to stop 5 people. Now, if it's a V'ger, we might be in serious trouble. So we got to check our anthropology. Do we have enough anthropology to make the attempt worth even doing. We have 1 anthropology. We have a captive, so he gets Astro Dippo. Leadership music. Yeah, not looking good. Not looking good. But if we send everybody, we could lose everybody to a V'ger. We would also know if they even are going to have V'ger by if they have an AU doorway in play. I don't think that they would have an AU doorway or whatever, so we could probably eliminate V'ger as a possibility. So then we're just worried about the cloud, and the cloud is not a big... the cloud's not a big deal. We have lots of medical. We actually have... we're going to have astrophysics. We have astrophysics ×2 there. Yeah, I mean, it'll probably get stopped, of course, but, you know, if we get stopped to a V'ger, that's fine. We just need to keep pushing forward. So we would probably just take everybody in attempt, not knowing what's coming. So we attempt, and we hit the Temptations of the Flesh again. 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 13. Okay. All right. So 1, 2, 5, 5, 1. So 1, and then 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5 again, and then 1 again. We did get Lore's Command Star through. We can hold off on these special downloads because they can certainly use their special downloads later if they need to. So we push through on that, and then we hit, oh, friendly fire. So we do have a captive, so we have a leadership here. We have a leadership and a security with Lore, and then we don't have another security. Oh, we do. That's all right. He has security as well. So Lapel and Lore get the job done and beat the friendly fire. And then we have our Genesis device. And then we need to have Engineer, Honor, Navigation. Now, Honor, I doubt it. No, we do not have Honor. Okay, so we're lacking Honor. So these people are stopped. These people are not. We still have not used our assigned support personnel download yet. So we're going to do that. We don't have Maset with an Honor if we need it on the next turn. We don't have anybody with Honor as a support personnel for Cardassian. So we are just going to go ahead and we're just going to download for our support personnel. We'll just download a copy of Tell. Just to have him. And then we can, what we can do is we can dock the ship, and then we can put Celia in the guest quarters, and we can put Jill Aura in the promenade shops. And that'll help us dig a little bit here. So we'll go to end of turn, and we will probe with the promenade shops, miss, and then we are going to do the first card draw through the guest quarters. We definitely don't need the Davidian door, so we send that to the bottom of the deck, and we take Dolak as the draw, and then we take our second draw, and it's Suna, which is helpful. And then we let the opponent have their turn. Opponent consolidates, and let's assume that they now have seen that it's a more of your kind as the next dilemma here. So they probably just go, okay, so if it's a more of your kind, it's going to be something that's probably going to blow up my ship, so they just want to get that out of the way. So they just minimally crew, and then they just go more of your kind. into the V'ger, which then blows up their ship. I mean, we've already blown that up, so if they have a second ship, which they most likely do, then they would probably just go ahead and solve this mission. And we're okay with that. It's really too bad that Slay doesn't have honor. Or the Jill Aura has honor. Really quite unfortunate. Okay. So we start with our turn, and we go free play of Dolak with Taken Prisoner, and that draws us a card for our one last chance to just draw it naturally. And we miss. We don't have Korak in play, so we can free play Korak with Attention All Hands, because the other copy died. And then for our card play, we would have choice. We could either play Suna, and then Reflection Therapy in some honor, or we can just straight up download some honor. And then just not draw our 2 cards at the end of turn. Given the fact that Suna can play over here at the outpost on the next turn, and that kind of dialing a skill seems more preferable for in a pinch, I think we would just go ahead and do a Nord download. And then we would be able to get either Masset, or we can get Jean-Luc Picard. Oh, sorry, human. We get a human. We would also be able to possibly get Gulavec. This is a Fed mission, so Gulavec is also a pretty good choice as well. But just for the thematic funness, we're going to grab human. We will draw no cards for the rest of this turn, but we will also download a support personnel if we have one. We have, yeah. We have a Belcalis, but the thing is we don't want to download Belcalis because we need him to get downloaded, possibly get downloaded with a Sleeper Trap if that happens. But it's also looking like our opponent's just going to be solving these 2 missions, possibly for the win, on a 2-mission win plan. So we don't even know if that's even going to happen. We've already downloaded a Tell, I believe, but we do have Tell. Do we have a universal we could download that has leader or officer? Doesn't look that way. So we would just actually go ahead and just do a fail define, and we don't care if our opponent looks through our deck. Whoopity-doo. Okay. So we would just put these people on board. If we were concerned about a mission debriefing, we would just figure out who needs to attempt. But we obviously have honor, we have engineer, we have navigation. I saw navigation. Yeah, obviously we played it early, so that's how we're solving this first mission. Then, and we claim the Genesis device. We put the Genesis device owns the ship, and then we basically can just fly both of these ships over here to our outpost. And we've got 19 personnel to work with here as for solving this planet mission. We are just going to go ahead and Genesis device it. So we don't want to solve this turn. So as long as we don't have either 2 security or 2 treachery in an attempting team, we will be able to bust through dilemmas without necessarily solving. So probably the easiest way to keep the 2 is to keep 2 treachery out. So here's 1 treachery. Oh, Glenn Telek had honor this whole time, and I just missed it. Oh, well that's dumb. Whatever. Doesn't have or he has double treachery. Has treachery. Has treachery. Has treachery. Don't have treachery. So we have like these 14 personnel to work with. And then it actually looks like 2 security, 2 treachery is actually over here as well. Because we have security, treachery, treachery. And then biology. So like this is kind of our solving group anyway. So we're happy keeping them separate. Now we want to, if we can, be prepared for a Jolly Chew. So we would actually put Lore and Dolak onto a ship, undocked, the other one's docked, and then we'd be able to attempt with all these people and see what happens. So we know that these 2 are space combos, so we'll set those aside, and we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as to what our opponent gives us. So it's going to be this combo right here. And the first element we face is Rules of Obedience. Highest integrity or fewest icons. 2 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 icons. And then highest integrity, it's human. Alright. Beverly and Will are a 7. Celia is an 8. We could force an inclusion of Celia into the group. We can't get human out of it, and that's probably who they want to pick because Geo and 2 honor. I mean, he knows we have. He's got to think we have geology. Even though they can't see it, we do have it back here. So he wants to probably just kill human, and then 2 security, 2 treachery. We're not going to have because we didn't let it. We didn't send it. So we are just going to get boned, I think. But again, this is fine because, yeah, so he'll kill human and then we won't pass it because we don't have a smiley. We don't have 2 honor. And we don't have 2 security, 2 treachery because we didn't send any. At least now we have a good idea of what's happening here. That this appears as just going to be like a dual combo or a god combo. We will download the test bar egg because we can. We'll download a medical tricorder or the engineering tricorder because we can. And we don't have anything else we want to download right now, so then we just go to end of turn and that's it. So opponent has their turn. Opponent has their turn. Let's say that they formulated. We do get to kill another person, but then they beat it. And then they encounter misinterpreted history, and they probably don't pass this one because those 2 things require such radically different things from each other. Probably a good chance they don't have it. And then we go to our turn. We can free play Gallic with Taken Prisoner and draw a card. Good gosh. And then just card play Suna. And then we just got to figure out how we got to beat this. We now know for sure that the Genesis device has gone off. It's going to double the mission points, so now we don't care about who we send. So we're not worried about a Jolly Chew, I don't think, now, because they didn't lead off with it. So it seems pretty likely that our best bet to push through is just to send the brick. If they Denovan neuroparasites, whoopity-doo. They're going to kill 10 and we're going to get 10 through. Yeah. And then, I mean, 2 security, 2 treachery is not going to be hard for us. So let's just send the brick. So rules of obedience will be highest integrity again. So now it is Celia. And we're not going to like, I mean, we could push one of our 7s. I mean, we could push Glenn Telak over to a 9 and force Glenn Telak instead of Celia. Or even Jill Ora, but we don't want to do that because she has our geology. Or we just push it, on Darrow. Well, it would be Glenn Telak and Darrow. And Jill Ora, so we don't really want to do that. So we just give them, Celia and we give them the 2 skilled personnel. They almost undoubtedly just kill Celia. But we do pass it now that we have our 2 security, 2 treachery. So we pass rules of obedience. We go into executive authorization. Well, we need a legate. He's a scientist. She has gold, but we need a legate, right? Wow. Governor, Queen, counterpart, pad. We actually don't have the pad in this deck. We would have been able to just bypass this easily if we had pad in the deck. So, I mean, good call. 'Cause I don't think we have a legate anywhere. He's a Gaul. Is a Gaul. Yeah. That's he's a Glenn. And Korak is a Glenn. Military aids, military aids. He's just an admiral. He's not going to get there. I don't think we have a president anywhere. Don't have high council on the deck. General, maybe. No intendants, no ministers. I don't think any of these are chairmen. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So we're definitely not passing that. Cool. So then we have to think about how we're going to get it in play. We do have goals in the deck. We can download one with a Nor. Problem is, though, is that since we sent everybody, we're stopped and we can't send a ship over. So it's going to take us 2 turns, I think, because it'll be... Well, no, if we send both ships, we just do the whole, like, one goes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here, and then comes back. So the fact that we have 2 ships, we'll still be able to do it. So then we would just go to end of turn, and we would just draw 2, and we draw the Gaul, and he's just a Gaul. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if we have a legate in this deck. Oof. Youch. I think we might just be cold stopped. Rough. Alright, opponent has their turn. Let's say they beat this, and then they face their own rules of obedience, and they don't pass it because they're not quite sure what's going on. We get to our turn, and let's just do that. Let's just see if we have one in the deck. Nope, nope, nope. He is a Gaul. He is a Gaul. Mercenary. Yeah, I don't think we can beat... I don't think we can even beat that dilemma, because he is also an Elder Gaul. So we've learned that we cannot take the Cardassian pad out of this deck. That's very interesting. If that was the case, then we would have beaten it, and then we'd have a scientific method, and we would have a science here, medical, another science. We'd have tons of medical. But then we would be able to get the 3rd science we need with Suna. We would also be able to just play Jorah Dal. on that turn, and we would have been able to get through, and we would have been able to solve, and we would be able to score. So again, fish bowling is not necessarily about whether or not you would win. It's about exposing the problems in your deck. So we learned something here, and that is that the Cardassian pad is apparently an integral part of this deck being able to beat an executive authorization. So we would probably just go ahead and take lower decks probably out of the deck, just because the fact that getting it into play is through the commander's office is not really critical. So yeah, so we can probably assume that the lower deck is out, and we just put the Cardassian pad back in to the deck, and then we would have been okay here. So we've learned something about the deck. We've learned that there's a hole in it that we needed to close, or that we actually, sorry, technically we reopened it back up by taking the Cardassian pad out of the deck. So there you go. This is the upgraded version of the Cardassian Showdown deck. Please feel free to leave your thoughts and comments about it in the comment section below. Please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and then be on the lookout for when I post part 2, which will be an upgrade of the Chains of Command Showdown deck from the latest set. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. May the profits be with you.